Hi guys, it's KD here. Today I'll do my best to fix my Foxeer Lollipop 4 VTX antenna that I broke during one of my recent flying sessions and show you the full process. You may have seen me breaking the antenna in another video of mine. It wasn't a big crash, I just hit some leaves and branches of a small tree. However, I got very weak signal after the crash, as the antenna apparently got broken. First of all, I have to open the antenna housing. The housing has a seam all around it, and the two parts are glued together at this seam. I used small flathead screwdriver bits in different sizes to do this. As you can see in the recording, the antenna housing is already split apart. It wasn't as simple as I thought it would be. I had to use a good amount of force to poke several holes all around the seam and then lever up the top part of the housing to split it apart. Just watch your fingers if you're doing something like this so you don't poke holes in your own hands. After opening the antenna, you can already see what the problem is exactly. The top part of the antenna broke off, causing a severe loss of signal. I will call this small metal part a crown, as it kind of resembles one. It seems like the crown was soldered to a single thin wire going through the center of the antenna. That is where it broke off. Next, I have to remove the old solder from the crown. I'm just using some flux, a piece of copper wire with multiple thin threads, and a soldering iron set to around 400 degrees Celsius. After cleaning the crown, it's time to prepare the spot that the crown will be soldered to. To do that, I made a cavity in the plastic by melting it with a soldering iron to uncover more of the central wire and have some more space for the solder. Having both parts prepared, I first put a good amount of solder onto the mounting spot and then solder the crown. Forcing the antenna cover to open caused some damage to the housing. Now, to get it to close properly, I have to clean both housing parts from torn off plastic and make the seam straight. After closing the antenna and doing some more cleanup, it's time to test if it works as intended. But first, I need to disassemble the quad and disconnect the other antenna. It's just 6 screws and the top plate is off. Now I undo one small screw holding the antenna connector bracket and loosen the nut that holds the vista right next to it. Now the bracket should just pop off. After connecting the repaired antenna, the quad is ready to power up and test the VTX signal. As you can see, I have my Cinelog 35 sitting on my desk, which has the same VTX and the same antenna, so it'll be great to compare the signal strength. I put my goggles on and then go to another room to check the signal. After trying both quads with all the same settings, everything seems fine. I'll do some more testing in the field later in the video. Although the repaired antenna needs some more attention. The wire wore down a little just beneath the tubing. I think it's a common problem, as I've seen this exact thing happening in a couple of my other antennas. To fix it, I remove several millimeters of tubing first, and then use heat shrink. I will also use heat shrink to protect the antenna housing a little more. I put 2 layers of heat shrink on the wire. The first goes up to the tube, and the second, wider one, goes over the first one and a little over the tube. Now it is time to glue both parts of the antenna together. I'm using cyanoacrylate glue which is just your good old super glue. After the glue sets, I clean up any sharp edges with a small file and then wipe the antenna with some isopropyl alcohol. Then I paint the whole thing with the black acrylic marker I have sitting around. Finally, I use heat shrink over the antenna housing and cut off the excess. One more quick test to see if the signal is still okay after the heat shrink wrapping. I was a little worried I could screw things up as the antenna housing plastic started to deform a little from the heat of the torch. Fortunately, everything still seems good. I screw the top plate on, and now for the field testing. First, I'm going to fly with my Cinelog 35 that has a fully operational Lollipop 4 antenna. I'll fly a similar path with both quads and compare the signal strength. I picked two spots to do that. The first spot is above this tall tree. I'm doing a 360 spin and checking the signal. The lowest bitrate at this spot is 50.1 megabits per second. Then I'm searching for another good spot to compare the signal, and I found one behind this tree, which is not in my line of sight, and the signal gets significantly weaker here. The lowest reading here is 27.7 Mbps. Now switching to my Mark V with the repaired antenna. At the first spot, the lowest signal strength is 50.5 Mbps. And at the second spot, I got 36.3 Mbps. Maybe this wasn't a very comprehensive test, but it is just good enough for me. Before the repair, the signal dropped immediately after the launch, and I couldn't fly more than about 100 meters away. Now it's at least comparable to the undamaged antenna, and it is a win in my book. I'll probably buy a new antenna anyway, but it is always good to have some additional spare parts on hand. I hope you find this video helpful in some way. As you can see, you can repair some of your broken parts instead of just throwing them in the trash. Thank you for watching, and see you in another video.